Hi Virgo, welcome to your love reading for August 22nd through September 22nd. This is Tarot-blee Accurate. If you're new, I hope you come back. If you've been here before, I appreciate all of your likes, your shares, your comments, that you subscribe. A couple things just jumping out here right away before we get started, and so this will apply to everybody, both singles and couples. We've got the Page of Pentacles in the challenge position, just saying that it's very challenging and difficult to get excited to have conversations about stability in everyday life, knowing what to expect. So if you're coupled or if you're kind of seeing someone, it's very complicated sometimes to start a conversation about where is this going, where are we headed. That's something though that needs to happen. It says you don't have to worry so much, though, about the little details. So if it's a challenge, it can just be one of those things that you say very casually, bring it up, but then don't stress if they don't want to really get into it. There's something here about not really knowing what you want and whether or not it's the right thing anyway. So maybe that's where the challenge is coming from. You have to, first of all, really understand, where you're coming from logically, less so than heart sense. Like if your heart isn't really connected, but you just don't want to be alone, I think that was a common theme for Scorpio and Capricorns. You'll want to think about, is this something I even want to put my time into? Other things here coming up, we have the Emperor and the Empress. So we're going to start with couples is what I think this is trying to tell me. But also what it's saying is that you're with the right person, some of you who are coupled, and then it's just a matter of figuring out the logistics of how to make it work, making time for each other every single day. Okay, so here we go. Those Virgos who are coupled, what do we have for Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising couples August 22nd through September 22nd. The first thing we have is the Fool. So this is a need to just have faith that everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to, and this is blind faith. So even if it seems dangerous, like, oh man, I could really get hurt in this relationship, or I don't know if this is going to work out, just having blind faith that it will. Being enthusiastic and excited and just hoping for the best. We've got the Lovers. So some of you right now might be going through a time period of a break, a difficulty within your relationship, and that's why you need to have that faith that it'll all work out. You may not have been intimate in quite some time, and it's because of a lot of decisions that you need to make right now. It looks like there is maybe a little bit of apathy within the relationship. Because of some tangible struggle. So maybe it's difficult to figure out, if you're going to live together or shared expenses, that sort of a thing, because we do have a lot of difficult conversations about stability right here. What else is coming up? But okay, so you might be feeling right now some apathy or some sadness regarding the situation, but when it comes to your partner, they really do fulfill you emotionally. It's just there's something going on in the environment that is making you feel that way. So I think that you're with the right person. You're a queen and they're your king, or vice versa. And it's just that right now there are outside forces that are complicating things and making it so that maybe you're not being very romantic and loving towards each other, and you're not connecting physically. This says to follow your gut instincts, though, your intuition about the situation. Don't worry about other people's judgment. And this is something that I kind of felt when we started the reading, but didn't feel it strong enough in a general reading to bring it up. But I guess it's important for at least some of you, saying that, maybe other people are looking at the relationship and they don't approve, family members, things like that. Try not to worry so much about what they think. You have to do ultimately what feels right in your heart, what makes you feel good. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. Following that divine guidance, the intuition there. There are more struggles to be had still, and right now you might be feeling tempted by other people, but actually not indulging in that. And, just because of the lack of lovey stuff and physical connection recently, and then this total inability to move forward because of an outside force to take your relationship to the next level. What else is going on for Virgo couples? There are resources and solutions available regarding whatever this issue is, because it'll resonate differently for everybody in a general reading, available, but you're not seeing them. There are other options, other ways that you're just not looking at. And it's almost like, remember how I talked about apathy? Some of it is just that you don't want to go through the struggle and the challenge anymore. You just don't. What you want to do is you want to be happy and you want to be comfortable and radiant and, have some fun at this point in time. And you don't want to be worried about your fears. And your partner's feeling exactly the same way. And so you maybe aren't looking towards each other. It's like, this is so much work. This is so hard. We don't know if it's ever going to work. We know we should be together, but we also know that maybe at this time it's just not right. There's too many outside forces that are inhibiting that. And it's not crazy to feel that way. It isn't. Your feelings are accurate, because whatever the situation is, it wasn't allowing you to feel entirely emotionally fulfilled within your relationship, within the context of it. We have the Hierophant here, and it's just saying that maybe you really saw things going in a very distinct and certain direction, headed towards marriage, commitment, living together, that sort of a thing. But there's something that's not allowing that to happen. There's some sort of blockage that's an outside force. And it's going to be a while before that force is eliminated, before you can move forward with those things. And that's just created so much unhappiness within the relationship for you, so much disappointment and heartbreak, and maybe even caused you or your partner to seek out someone else. Where did that go? Oh, this is interesting. With that energy too, that heartbreak and that disappointment, a lot of people read that card as cheating. It's three people involved, but it could also be, that you and your partner are involved and then one of your parents don't approve of the relationship or something like that. Like there's a familial issue. Somebody's trying to inhibit you from being together. And so really you just kind of don't want to deal with it. But ultimately, like in your heart, that's what you want. You want to be together. You love each other. You want to be married to each other, or at least take the relationship to the next level. Like you really feel that, and you really, 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 on so many levels, are compatible. The Emperor and the Empress, they go together like this. The Queen of Wands and the King of Wands are supposed to go together like this. So if your partner is a fire sign, this will maybe especially be true for you. Yeah, it's just saying there's not communication right now about taking things to that level, to achieving stability, and it's just because maybe there isn't a way to do it. If it was about moving in together and things like that, that's just not going to happen right now. You're not going to move right now from the choppy water to the smooth water. You're not getting in the boat, packing stuff up and doing it. It's almost like some of you just need to go out and create your own stability. And it was an ultimatum where you just said, you know what, I need to do this for me, and I need to support myself and not be in a partnership anymore that doesn't fulfill me the way that I anticipated that it would, that I was promised that it would, that it seemed like it would. And your partner's feeling the same way. You'll both be successful at that, and right now are trying real hard not to look back at the past too much. but more taking care of yourselves at this point in time. So what is your advice then if this is what's going on for you? Probably don't engage in any struggle in trying to force things. You know, right now it's really hard to be enthusiastic and optimistic and really want to go off on your own, but you're not being emotionally fulfilled. So you kind of have to do that because you need to have your own sense of balance. But for those of you who, and so, I mean, it doesn't mean you'll be apart forever. Maybe you will be. Maybe you won't be, though. Because at the end of the day, you do want the same things. It's just there's something that is an outside force that won't allow that to be at this point in time. Now, I think I had heard something yesterday about a Mercury retrograde. So if we're in that right now, you know, I don't do astrology, but it would be good to wait till maybe that's done. But for those of you who are coupled and this doesn't apply to, because it's a general reading, you probably don't want to be thinking about the past too much, wishing for times of the past, because this is the now, okay? But emotionally, you're pretty balanced. You have a good idea between what it is that you desire, what you want. Your head's not up in the clouds in fantasy land. You're pretty grounded, but you're still optimistic. There are things you need to do, conversations you need to have, though, regardless of whether that other situation is your situation, that maybe you're just not doing right now. And the reason why is because it isn't fun. You would rather be fun and happy and just sort of avoid it right now. You're a little bit suspicious of the drama that might ensue as a result. But ultimately, if you don't, you won't be happy about that. You can have tons of faith and optimism, and you should, as this is what we started with, okay, about the future, moving forward. Don't be afraid of other people's judgment, but until you have that little chat, you're not going to really be emotionally fulfilled and have all of that emotional stuff that you need right now. Some of you are just realizing that maybe the partner that you were with, the person that you've given a lot of your time and love energy to, just isn't your soulmate at this point. People grow and change, and maybe you were supposed to be in each other's lives for a certain amount of time to learn lessons, but at this point you're like, oh, I don't really know. And, you know, it's something you don't even want to think about because it is sad. It's heartbreaking. You still love somebody. And you're probably even married to them, or maybe you're about to get married to them. So a lot of tough decisions coming up right now. Some of you are feeling pretty hopeless about the situation. But, you know, once you do make a decision and you have those conversations, things are going to change really quick. And it might not feel like it because of the heartbreak, but they are going to go off in a direction that is good and full of growth and blessings for you. Then you will have a little bit of unbalance initially, but you'll find, you know, your steady groove again. But for those of you who are thinking about moving and you weren't in that first situation, it might not be the best time to move, but I felt like it's time. Okay, for example, if you're together and you've decided you're going to split apart, okay, if you're going to move on your own, that's okay. But if you were going to move together somewhere, maybe not the best time. You might want to wait a little bit because ultimately it wouldn't be what you want. You wouldn't have your happiness right now there by changing environments. And it just really wants you to know that. Like, you won't be overflowing with joy like you thought. It's not going to be what you wished for. Interesting how those cards just come out exactly like they should. You know, some of you, like, for example, if you're going to stay together because you don't have the confidence to know what you can afford and do it on your own, it's not the right choice. You just have to have that blind optimism and faith and be really secure in yourself. Tough reading, guys. Sorry. For those of you who are Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, and you are single, what do we have? Just cards jumping out all over the place here. Yikes, yikes, yikes. It was a big, huge chunk, so I'm going to throw those back in the deck and see what we get. They're still jumping all out over the place. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. Okay. You're finally allowing yourself to receive help from other people, from your friends, from your loved ones. Taking some time to wait for things to pay off that you've invested in. So this could be actual things like an actual investment. This could be work that you did on yourself within your actual job. And it's just saying you have to be patient a little bit longer. Some of you are recently single because you just did walk away, excuse me, from your partner, but in search of something better. You know, you love them, but, you know, your intuition is telling you it's just time. And it was really hard, but you have to get excited about it. And that's really kind of an issue right now, is getting excited about meeting new people, going out, creating a new life that is stable. But it says, you know, because you had the balls to do this, because you were brave, your luck is all going to change. We have the Wheel of Fortune saying, you know, everything's up on the upswing because you're being rewarded for following your gut instincts and your intuition. And that's exactly what this card says too. It says, try not to worry about outside forces that are trying to influence you. You know, maybe somebody's advice that is against what you believe. Because if you do that, then your support system isn't as great. It's not as much. You really need to trust your gut right now. I feel like the decision's already been made in your mind if you haven't made it up yet and taken an action, like verbally. You could have some fears right now about your finances, trying to hold on to money. So if you're not going out and meeting new people, that could be part of it. But then for some of you, it's just like you're not even interested in other people because you're just not ready yet. You're feeling really sad about a recent breakup, or just generally, in general, kind of sad. And you don't really see how anyone else could fit the way that they did, but you know you can't be with them. For those of you who have been single for a while, you could have recently experienced some heartbreak, some sadness, some disappointment, but it didn't kill you, okay? It just threw you off a little bit. And, you know, there was something there that you might not have been honest about. You could have lied to somebody, and that's why they're no longer interested. Somehow there was a lie, and it could be a lie to yourself or to another person, but it's kind of created this situation where you're ending up feeling a little bit hurt. And you know what? It could have been somebody else that lied to you, and that's where all this hurt comes from. But at the end of the day, it was just a lesson, is what that's saying. And it's just saying, be careful that this doesn't happen again, because it doesn't do you much good. It makes you feel very weak. It kind of sucks the life and drive out of you, when really right now, instead of this, without it, you know, you would be happy and having fun and you know, being silly and radiant. And ultimately, a lot of the people you've been meeting lately are just not the kind of people who want the same thing that you do. So, you know, be careful not to shape shift and try to make things work when they probably don't. It's things, some of you just feel pretty hopeless, you know, like, oh, I might be single forever. Well, here's the deal. If you talk like that, if you think like that, then that's what you're manifesting, okay? So knock it off. Have optimism. It says don't focus on the little details so much and be working so hard. Maybe now is just not the right time in your life to meet somebody, because you have to figure out how you're going to be happy without somebody, right? Like, you need to decide, I love cake whether it has frosting or not, and then, you know, let that person be your frosting. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is kind of a tough reading, guys, and I'm super sorry about that, but the cards just say what they say. I can't lie to you, or there would be no point in doing these. Challenges, though, about these new starts, about creating your own happiness, your stability, your day-to-day life, routines, work, moving. I feel like a lot of people are moving right now. I've done so many personal readings for people who are moving recently. And it's just like maybe having a hard time finding the right place, knowing where to go. But the biggest part of this is just like learning the lesson that you can do whatever it is that you want. You can be happy wherever you are. It all comes from within inside of you. You have to really build up your confidence and just know that you can do it. And you know, you're not crazy for having those fears and feeling the way that you feel, but you really, really need to derive some happiness and pride, you know, about yourself and your recent tough decisions and what you've gone through and where you're going, and have that faith and optimism. And like I said, a lot of you have been, you know, thinking about things, had tough decisions to make, but you've sort of recently made them up, at least in your mind. And that's going to bring a lot more emotional balance for those of you who have kind of felt like emotionally a little bit all over the place and were struggling and suffering. Well, that's interesting. So here's the deal. Some of you could meet very soon this month. And I'm not feeling this for all of you, maybe 20% maximum. The person that you will marry, okay? You could either bump into an ex-spouse, go to a wedding, or sign a contract. You know, if you're doing the move, that would be like a lease, something like that. That's important for you. It has something to do with your love life, like on a broader scale. And really, whatever this thing is, however that card is going to show up for you, this is going to bring a lot more stability into your life. It'll be a new way of looking at things with more positivity. Whatever this shift is, whatever it is that you moved away from, you're moving towards, is actually very good for you, even though it's hard right now. So just remember that, okay? Because that's the key to building up your confidence and being happier and kind of setting the tone for moving into a higher vibration and therefore attracting people that are better for you in your life. So good luck. If you would like a private reading, all of my contact information is in the description box below, along with the links to the daily cards on Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. This is just saying right here, as I was closing there, this one jumps out. And this is the soulmate card, but it's in reverse, just saying you might have to wait a little bit longer until you can either be with them if you've already met them, or if you can meet them, okay? So thank you, thank you, thank you. See you soon. Love you, Virgos. Mwah!